Hello and welcome back to Growing Wealthy Grooming. I'm your host, River Lee. I am the founder of Savvy Groomer. I own a feline exclusive mobile business. I have been in the pet industry over 10 years, and I want to give you a warm welcome, whether it's your first time here or your 10th time. So let's get started with today's topic. Today's topic is going to be, should I get debt, borrow money in order to open my business? So what is debt? Debt is money that you don't have that you've borrowed from a bank, a friend, on a credit card, any kind of loan. So money you owe. When you're thinking about debt, a lot of times people will say debt is necessary, debt is a tool. They'll tell you all of these things, but here's what no one tells you is that if your business fails and you've taken out debt, you still owe that money. There are countless people that I have encountered in my business coaching, as well as just in passing, whether they're in the grooming industry or outside the grooming industry, that they'll open a business up. And did you know statistically, it's over 50% of small businesses close within the first 5 years. And depending upon the industry, it does change. I'm not even gonna lie. Very honestly, I took out $10,000 on a credit card to open up my grooming salon. Now, I was very blessed. $10,000 is not a lot of money to get out on a business. Most build out salons are between $40,000 and $80,000 if that person does not have a family member who is a contractor, an electrician, etc. So I had a very small build out. My salon had already been a salon, which I was very grateful for. So I already had the plumbing, all of that was already done. So when I opened up my shop with $10,000, that means immediately I have all of my salon's bills. I didn't have a second job at that time, so all of my personal income came from there. And I had this added weighted chain of this debt that I had to pay back. So who do you think got cut first? Do you think it was the rent and all the shop bills? Of course not. Was it the debt payment? Of course not. It was me. So if we didn't have enough money for food, we didn't have enough money for food. For those of you guys that don't know, I opened up my grooming salon 4 days before my son was born, which is insane. Don't do that. But my situation was I was living in my car, and very unfortunately, I had to figure out a way to not only support myself, but my newborn son. And I realized that owning my own grooming salon was pretty much the only way I could do that. In a short-term period of time, I am very good with budgeting. So I was very good at setting aside enough money each month to pay it off. And I paid that off, and I would say at about a year. And if you guys want to do quick math, that's about $800 a month. That's a lot of money extra, but that extra $800 we could have eaten like kings. So think about that for a second. What kind of business would be different with less debt? So if I opened up a business with zero debt, I just had the bills. It's a lot easier to balance the bills and being able to pay myself. There's so many things that I could start saving that money instead of paying back the debt. When I bought my grooming van, a grooming van is between like $75,000 and $100,000. It is a lot of money. And unfortunately, I didn't have $75,000 to $100,000 laying around. So what did I do? I put down $20,000 and the van has about $10,000 left, and I've owned it for 3 years. But I know I've spent thousands of dollars in interest paying off that van. And my van payment's about $1,500 a month. An extra $1,500 in my pocket each month is going to be amazing when I don't have my van payment anymore. If I kept my van, if I paid my first couple of years, if I saved $1,500 for 6.5 years, I could pay $100,000 in a new van. Any of you guys that have ever seen vans for sale know that I wouldn't obviously just give away my old van for free. I would probably get between $45,000 and $75,000 for my used van, which I could add. So potentially within the 3 years of saving up that money and selling the old van, I could get a brand new van, nothing out of pocket. So there are ways that you can utilize debt in the beginning to get your business along and then move on. It is incredibly difficult to sell shops because most of the time shops are designed with you in mind. You generally set up a shop based on your grooming preferences. Most of the grooming vans are pretty generic in the sense that it's very efficient. You can set up whatever you want inside and then take everything down. It's however you want. So that's why vans are easier to resell, plus they can take them wherever they want. There's a lot less complications when you're selling a van versus selling a shop. That said, when you are using debt to open a business, you are promising money to someone. What happens if someone in your family members gets sick? So when you are in debt, you can't make choices. If they're sick, and let's say you are that poor parent who has to move cross country because your child, you find out they have lymphoma, maybe they have a rare disease and you want to be near a hospital. And the truth is, like a house you can sell. You might lose money or you might find renters or something. But if you have a grooming business that you own outright, you can at least make the life choice of, okay, I'm going to put somebody in here or I'm going to have them pay rent. But if you owe debt and this is what's happening and you have to move and you've decided that it is not worth it for you to stay here and groom while your child is going to be going through chemotherapy across the country. That's a really terrible place for someone to be in. And we never know what life is going to throw at us. You never do. So your life choice may have to be to close down the shop and pay the next 3 to 5 years on whatever debt you owe. But I did want to move into this process when I'm talking about debt. And I love this quote. It's by Henry Wheeler Shaw. He said, "Debt is like any other trap. It is easy enough to get into, but hard enough to get out of." I thought that was a really wise quote because it's really easy to have the best of intentions to open up a salon. And then when you get there and you're running your own business, because you're not used to running your business, you're used to being a groomer. And being a groomer is only part of being a business owner. So you get this debt thinking, yeah, I'm fired up, woo! And then you start to get tired because realistically, the first 2 to 5 years of your business, you're going to be working 60 to 80 hours a week. If you don't have money in the bank, pay an employee, you're it. You're grooming in your shop 40 hours a week. You get to do everything. And when you finally do hire one person, you're going to realize how little they do compared to you. But that's because you're doing everything. They're just hiring them to groom. You have to think about that because that's the truth, is that it is such a commitment. So when you open that business and you have that debt, not only are you taking on all of this stuff, you are promising money that you haven't even earned yet. So you're hoping to earn enough money to cover not just your bills, not just to put food on the table, but also that you promised to pay back this money with interest. And hopefully that interest is low, like 4%, but a lot of times it's 8, it's 10, it's 15, it's 24 in some cases I've heard. Good luck paying that back. And when you finally do pay that back, you've almost paid thousands of dollars in interest. And when you think about it, I always think about money as time. So whenever I spend money, like a $20 bill, I think, is this worth a half hour of my time? And you go, you know what? No, we earn money. We are away from our families. We are away from our hobbies. We're away from doing what we love. Yes, we love grooming, but the truth is, on some level, not necessarily always what you want to do. But with that, it's easier without the debt because it's just one less thing. It's one less master. Earl Wilson, he said, today there are 3 kinds of people: the haves, the have-nots, and the I have not paid for what they have. I thought that was very interesting because I'm only human. Of course I have debt, but I'm working towards becoming completely debt-free. And that's very important to me. It's really annoying to see the first $1,500 in my business not go to me, not go to my bills, goes to the van. And so you're like, oh yeah, but you have your own van. Yes, but that is slowly being used up, So when you're opening your business with debt, you are promising time that you haven't earned yet. That can be really tough because what if your life changes? And I've already talked about this previously, but if your life changes, you want to be able to get out. So these are the things that is really hard to do when you have debt. Thomas Jefferson, perfect quote here: never spend your money before you have earned it. Our founding fathers of this country was really brilliant when they said that, because when you spend money you don't have, you don't know what the future holds. You're making promises you hope you can keep. But what again, if you're sick, your spouse is sick, you get bit and you can't groom anymore, there's so many bad things that could potentially happen. Another founding father, Benjamin Franklin, once said, creditors have better memories than debtors. And that's the truth. I talk a lot about how to grow wealthy, and wealth is a mindset. You have a plethora of abundance. Debt is something you owe. You need to have money to spend it. You need to have income. And when you have debt, that debt is going to go bye-bye, right? Versus when I have my money, I can spend it. So those things tie you up. There is always a lot of stress and pressure to make enough money and to make more money than I needed to that month in order to survive. And for those of you guys who don't know, the last point I want to make is when you have debt, you are a slave to the lender. It means that you are stuck. So let's say I borrowed 10 grand from my grandfather. When I go to Thanksgiving, every decision I make, he's going to critique. Let's say we went to on vacation, we went to Disneyland with my son. He's gonna be like, well, where'd you get the money for that? And I'd be like, oh, well, I just saved up the money I went. And they're gonna be like, well, you owe me $10,000. Like, where is that money? Why didn't you pay me off first? Da, 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 da. And that's a Thanksgiving dinner. When you borrow from family, you're like, oh, my family would never be like that. But why even take the chance? If you can save up that money, save up that money. And if you're saying to yourself, well, I can't save up that money. If you cannot budget, get on a written monthly plan of your finances. As an employee, do not open up a shop, because if you can't make your money work, what makes you think with more responsibility and less time, you will be better at this? I think all of this is great information. I hope this really helps. Again, I want to fully encourage you to join my online course called Personal Finance in a Leash. This will help you get your money under control. And some of you guys might be like, I have my money fine. But a lot of times when people say their money is fine, it's because they are in the live scenario where they're not living paycheck to paycheck. They have a little bit of money in the bank. They're living comfortably. And that's great until real life happens. And then you're going to lose everything. And we've all known people that have lost everything. We need to get into thrive, and that you can't do that by accident. You have to do that by making a written budget every month, by intentionally paying off debt, both personal and business. You need to intentionally be saving money for emergencies as well as saving money for retirement. You need to make sure you're in your zone of genius, whether that's being an employee or being a business owner, choosing which one you honestly want to be in and where you're going to be the happiest, because you will make the most money wherever you are happiest. You need to have enough money set aside in your accounts that if you needed to take 3 months off of work, if you're an employee, that you could. You could leave a bad situation at work. If you're an employer, you need enough money that if there's a natural disaster or something happens where your business has to be closed beyond your control, you can pay people to stay so they don't leave you. It's hard to be intentionally giving. It's hard, especially when you don't know how much you have to give. You don't know how much you need for you. And so this goes back to our roadmap to financial success. And it's really important. And it's really hard to start without being in a group. And that's what I love about Personal Finance in a Leash. We only open it twice a year. And I do that because it's 12 weeks long, and we're there. We do at least 1 or 2 Facebook Lives a week. We work in the group together. We help each other. We keep each other accountable. It's a lot of fun. If you go through the course, you do the workbooks, you watch at least one of the lives, or you interact in the group, you will change your habits, because you are going to be encouraged by other people who are in a very similar boat than you are. The grooming industry is not the same as most other industries. It's going to be a lot of fun. I really encourage you to consider that. So I want to thank you so much for watching me live today. This is my show called Grow Wealthy Grooming. This week's topic was about debt and starting a business. If you guys have more questions about this, or you want a follow-up video, I'm happy to do that. Go ahead and put it down below in the comment section. I would love to hear more from you guys and really help you. All right, guys, nice to meet you.